have a love-hate relationship with one of my productivity tools, so let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Dawn Dalton. I am a freelance writer and an author, and after a discussion with my mom about my reintroducing my Kanban board to my productivity lineup, I realized I never actually explained to you guys how I use it, how I choose what's on it, and why I hated it so much. So let's talk about it. So first things first, what is a Kanban board? It literally is a board or a page in a planner or whatever. Someplace where you can break down your goals and put them into the categories to do, doing, and done. This originally came about, I believe, from the Toyota Corporation because they needed something to keep people updated on how their projects are going, what stage it's in, and that way they don't have to have 10,001 meetings. Originally they go from left to right, but I go top to bottom, just like Sarah Cannon on heart breathings, which is where I learned about the Kanban boards to begin with. And when I first started my Kanban board a couple of years ago, it was the most amazing thing in the world. I put everything on it. And I do mean everything. Every weekly workout got its own post-it note. Every YouTube video got its own post-it note. Everything got a post-it note. And then it stopped working as well as it should. And part of that is because I have anxiety. Part of that is also because I wasn't completing tasks, and that would make me feel like absolute crap. So in Q3 last year, I had my hardest time with my Kanban board. So what I love about the Kanban board is it is a huge accountability tool for me. Not only do I see it every single day when I sit down at my desk, but my husband sees it every time he sits down at his. You guys see it every time I do a video. I mean, you don't actually get to see most of it because my body's covering it, but you still get to see that post-it notes are moving or not. And that's a huge thing for me. Being able to look at it, move stuff around, see where my projects are. Because originally that board was just a huge list of projects. They weren't broken down in any way, shape, or form, but they were never getting wiped off. I was just adding more and more projects to the board. What I don't like about the Kanban board is I hate the color of those post-it notes. Oh my God, I hate them. They are ugly. Q3 was the prettiest colors that I had, but they didn't stick. And that made it hard for me to be able to move them around. If the dog brushed against it, I had to clean up post-it notes. I don't like the fact that it is sitting in front of my bookcase. It's huge. It's not pretty. It's just there. And it gives me anxiety. And I hate to say that about a tool I use fairly regularly, that it gives me anxiety, but it's sort of the same reason I use Habitica on my phone. I hate having notifications, so I will work hard to get rid of any notifications on my phone. I will work hard to get rid of any notifications in my email because that number freaks me out. In fact, I looked at one of my friends' phones and when you have over 4,000 unread emails, I'm like, how do you handle that? Like, that number freaks me out. I can't. Like, I get 2 and I'm starting to, freak out a little bit, which is something that I try to use to my advantage. Checking stuff off makes me feel better. Having unchecked things makes me feel worse. But I want my bookcase back. So, one of the big things that I used to do is put weekly tasks on there. Every week I'm supposed to do a Medium post. And if I didn't complete it, I'd have to move it off to the side. And that Post-it note would live there for the rest of the quarter and would then get moved to the next quarter and the next until I had a week where I did more than one post so that I could actually move them off. And while being able to then take that old Post-it note off the board gave me a sense of accomplishment, it didn't outweigh the sense of absolute failure that I had to keep it up there. So I got rid of it. I got rid of weekly tasks. Those live in my planner now. And if they don't get checked off, they don't get checked off. If I move into a new week and I do 2, I just make a note of it. And theoretically, by the end of the quarter, it all evens out anyway. In fact, I have to get rid of the pink headers because I don't put anything underneath them anymore. They are just a legacy. Those are my weekly tasks that I keep in my planner now. So how do I choose what's on my board? How do I balance my anxiety of having so many tasks, so many Post-it notes, versus getting that little hit of dopamine every time I move one? And that's something that I've had to figure out and have adjusted over the 2 years I've been using this. So let's move down to where we can actually see the Kanban board and we'll talk about it. So this quarter, when I decided that I was going to be starting my Kanban board again, because it is something that has helped me throughout the years. And last quarter, I didn't do nearly as much as I normally would. I decided that all I was going to do is writing tasks, as you can see across the top. And yes, they are color-coded, so anything that needed to be edited this quarter is in blue. Anything that I am actively typing up is in pink. Anything that's being drafted is in orange. And then anything that I needed to plot is in yellow. Now they are also kind of ordered in importance. Obviously, press start definitely needs to be finished before I can do anything with roll of the dice. Starshot and Howler's book is more important than Love in the Shadows, even though Love in the Shadows was planned to be finished this year. Plotting Picking Up the Pieces outweighs plotting the second book in my call sign series. What I do every quarter when I set up my Kanban board is, if I'm editing a book, I write down all of the chapters that need to be edited. Now, I don't know for certain whether or not I have 42 chapters in Press Start, but I have 42 Post-it notes. If I reach the end of the book without finishing my Post-it notes, I'll just take the rest of them off the board. Same thing with typing roll of the dice, as well as my drafting. So what goes on to my Post-it notes when I put them on the board? Obviously, when I do edits, I break down the book by chapter. So all of the chapters will go up on the board. Now, I don't know how many chapters are in any given book. I know Game On had, I believe, 42 plus an epilogue, which is what I put on the board for press start. But I won't know until I get to the end because I haven't been numbering my chapters, because I was mostly just typing up the scenes and then putting them in the chapters and editing as I go. When it comes to typing up a book, what I do is I do every 5,000 words that need to be typed up to 80,000 words, because that's about the size of a novel. Now, if I go over, that's awesome. If I don't, I will wipe the extra post-it notes off the board. When it comes to drafting a book, because I do that by hand, I know that most books are going to draft in about 150 handwritten pages. So I put up every 5 pages that I'm going to handwrite. When it comes to plotting a book, you can see they have the teeniest amount of post-it notes, and that is because romance novels plot out in 4 sections, and then in each section there are 5 scenes that absolutely need to happen. If I were a less anxious person, I would actually have 20 post-it notes under each of those books that need to be plotted. I'm not going to, because that's just a lot of post-it notes. As it is, I have 30 post-it notes for each book that I'm drafting. I have 42 post-it notes for the book that I am editing, and 16 post-it notes for the book that I'm typing up. That's a lot of post-it notes. Now, if I wanted bigger hits, well, more hits of dopamine, I could have gone every 1,000 words that I typed up, because that's usually a day's writing. I could have broken down my handwriting into smaller increments. But when I put that many post-it notes up on my board at the beginning of a quarter, I have this intense moment of absolute panic, because that's a lot of work. A novel is a lot of work. I'm not gonna make light of it because I try to write one every quarter. But I look at, over 100 post-it notes. That's 100 plus tasks that need to get done this month or this quarter. Now, you can see I've made some really good headway. We're about halfway through the quarter, and I am the better part of halfway through everything. I'm fairly on track as far as all of that goes. And I know that once I get to plotting, picking up the pieces, because I've already done a lot of the legwork for it, plotting shouldn't take that long. It's just a matter of sitting down and doing it. But first I want to get caught up on my handwriting, because I am a little bit behind from where I'd like to be. That is how I'm using my Kanban board. Why I stopped using it, kind of how I've adjusted over the years to using it. And the only thing I really need to figure out now is how to make it better, prettier, less intrusive on my line of sight. I need to find better post-it notes that actually stick, that are in colors that I actually want to use. I also think that at some point I need to find a smaller board to put on the wall over here, so that my bookcases can be seen, so that the books that I want to read can be seen. Hopefully you enjoyed this rambly talk about one of my biggest love-hate relationships with a productivity tool. If you've been enjoying what I've been doing, be sure to feed the algorithm, boop that like button, and subscribe. And I will see you later.